All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to talk about one of the coolest and most fundamental ideas in all of chemistry, chemical equilibrium. Now, this might sound a little complex, but trust me, it's this incredible, invisible balancing act that's happening literally everywhere, all around us, and even inside our own bodies, right this second.
So, think back to when you first learned about chemical reactions. You probably pictured it like a one-way street, right? You mix A and B and poof, they turn completely into C. It's a done deal. But is that really how it works? Do reactions always go all the way to the finish line until one of the starting materials is completely gone?
Well, the short answer is nope, not even close, actually. For a whole lot of reactions, it's not a sprint to the finish at all. It's much more like a super busy two-way street. You've got reactants becoming products, for sure, but at the very same time, you have products breaking back down into reactants. It's a constant back and forth. And that constant flow brings us right to our first major topic, a reactions balancing act. We're going to get into what chemists call dynamic equilibrium. Seriously, this is where all the cool stuff happens. Okay, so any reaction that can go both forwards and backwards like this has a special name. It's a reversible reaction, and chemists have this nifty little symbol for it, these two arrows pointing in opposite directions. Whenever you spot that symbol, it's a dead giveaway that we're not talking about a one-way ticket. We're talking about a continuous cycle of things being made and unmade. To really get our heads around this, let's use an analogy. It's super simple. Imagine you've got a huge pile of nuts and an equally huge pile of bolts, just loose parts. These are our reactants. And right now, at the very beginning, you have 0 assembled units. Nothing put together yet. That's our starting line. Okay, now picture this. You have one person who starts grabbing nuts and bolts and assembling them into little units. That's our forward reaction. But at the exact same time, you've got another person who starts taking those finished units and breaking them back apart. That's our reverse reaction. So you can see what's happening, right? The pile of loose parts is shrinking and the pile of assembled units is getting bigger. After a while, though, something really interesting happens. You get to a point where if you were to stop and count, the number of nuts, bolts, and assembled units just stays the same. But here's the crucial thing to remember. The work has not stopped. It just looks that way from the outside. What's really happening is that the assembly, the forward reaction, is happening at the exact same speed as the disassembly, the reverse reaction. That, right there, is dynamic equilibrium. And that brings us to the official definition. Chemical equilibrium is that sweet spot where the speed of the forward reaction is exactly equal to the speed of the reverse reaction. The big takeaway here is that the amounts of everything look constant, but it's not because the reactions have stopped. Oh no, it's because they're perfectly balanced. It is dynamic, always in motion, not static. Okay, so if every reaction finds this special balance point, a good question to ask is, how can we describe it? Does the balance usually lean towards making products, or does it sometimes prefer to stay as reactants? Well, that's what we're going to figure out next. We're going to learn how to put an actual number, a score, on this balancing act. For pretty much any reversible reaction, we can calculate this number called the equilibrium constant, which we call Kc. And honestly, it's basically just a fraction. It's a ratio. Here's how you build it. You put the concentration of the products on top and the concentration of the reactants on the bottom. But there's one last super important step. You have to take each of those concentrations and raise it to the power of its balancing number, its coefficient, from the chemical equation. That little step makes sure everything is weighted correctly. So what's the point of this number? What does it actually tell us? Well, just think of it as a score for the reaction. If your Kc value is big, anything greater than 1, it means that at equilibrium, your reaction mixture is mostly products. The balance is tilted way over to the right. And if Kc is a tiny number, less than 1, it's the exact opposite. You've got mostly reactants hanging around, and the equilibrium lies to the left. Okay, this is all really interesting, but here's where it gets really powerful. What if we don't like where the equilibrium is? What if we want to force a reaction to make more product? Can we, push the balance around? The answer is a huge yes, and the playbook for how to do it is called Le Chatelier'S principle. And here's the principle itself, straight from the man, Henry Le Chatelier. It's actually a pretty simple and intuitive idea when you break it down. All it's really saying is that if you have a system that's perfectly balanced, and you mess with it, you poke it, you add a stress, the system is going to react in a way that undoes what you just did. It's going to fight back to find a new balance. This principle gives us like a cheat sheet for controlling reactions. For example, if you dump in more reactants, what's the system going to do? It's going to try to use them up, right? So it shifts to the right, making more products. Or say you crank up the pressure on a reaction with gases.
the system will try to relieve that pressure by shifting to whichever side has fewer gas particles. Same thing with heat. Add heat, and the reaction will shift in the direction that absorbs that heat. See, it always fights back against the stress you apply.
All right, so let's pull this out of the textbook and see how it works in the real world. Because this isn't just some abstract theory. It's something that has literally changed the course of human history. We're going to look at maybe the most famous example of all, the Haber-Bosch process.
So this is the reaction that makes ammonia. You take nitrogen gas, which is all around us in the air, and react it with hydrogen gas. Now, there are two super important things to notice here. First, see that plus heat on the product side? That means the reaction gives off heat. It's exothermic. Second, count the gas molecules. On the left, you have 1 nitrogen and 3 hydrogens, so that's 4 gas molecules. On the right, you only have 2 ammonia molecules. That difference is going to be the key to everything.
So, imagine you're the chemist trying to solve this puzzle. Your goal is simple: make as much ammonia as possible. Le Chatelier's principle gives you 2 clues. First, to push the reaction to the right, the side with fewer gas moles, you should crank up the pressure, high pressure. Got it? Second, since the reaction gives off heat, you should keep it cold to favor that forward reaction. But there's a huge problem. At low temperatures, the reaction is ridiculously slow. You'd be waiting forever. This is the conflict, and the genius solution they found was to use a catalyst, in this case iron, which just speeds the whole thing up. It doesn't shift a balance, it just lets you get there faster at a reasonable temperature.
And what was the result of cracking this puzzle? Well, the impact is just staggering. Using these exact principles, we now produce over 100 million metric tons of ammonia every single year. That ammonia is the key ingredient in the fertilizers that feed a huge portion of the world's population. This is why understanding equilibrium matters so much.
So, let's just quickly wrap up what we've covered. The big ideas are these. First, most chemical reactions are a constant two-way street, a dynamic balance. Second, we can actually put a score on that balance using the equilibrium constant, Kc, to see if products or reactants are favored. And third, and maybe most importantly, we can actually manipulate and control reactions using Le Chatelier's principle. And as we just saw, that knowledge is absolutely vital for making the stuff that runs our world.
So in the end, we see the chemical equilibrium is all about this state of constant motion, this perpetual push and pull. And that kind of leaves us with a bigger thought to chew on, right? If this idea of a dynamic balance governs everything from a tiny reaction in a lab to massive industrial processes, what about everything else? It really makes you wonder, is anything in nature ever truly done or finished? Or is everything everywhere just in a constant, beautiful state of finding its balance?